Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is NopeNapNarp, and today we're gonna get spooky. Welcome to Psychology of Gaming, the series where we analyze video games and the impact that they have on us using different theories of psychology. For this second episode, I want to talk about a game that, if you're a PlayStation 4 owner, you may have seen pop up for a free download via your PlayStation Plus membership this month. Well, that is if you're watching this video in January of 2018 anyway. No, I'm not talking about Telltale's Batman or Deus Ex Mankind Divided, no. Instead, I'm talking about Uncanny Valley. Now, if you haven't played the game, be warned that this video will contain major spoilers. This is your spoiler warning, as I'm gonna talk about the meaning of this game. So go play it, come back, and then watch the video. And for the rest of you, let's jump straight in to today's video. So first, let's talk about the game a bit. It's hard to find information about this game online because the title of the game is actually the same as the psychological theory we're going to talk about in today's video. Because of that, your standard Google search of the game reveals very little information about the game. Hell, it doesn't even have an active Wikipedia page. And remember kids, Wikipedia may not be legit, but it sure is a damn good source to find quick information. But I digress. Uncanny Valley was developed by Cowardly Creations, and the game released in early 2017. The game is a 2D pixelated survival horror game that certainly leaves you with some weird and creepy vibes. From the very start, the game tells you that it's designed for multiple playthroughs because there are a few different endings. And in order to piece together the whole picture here, you're gonna have to explore this creepy place multiple times. And I'm glad they include this message because if they didn't, you would be very confused at the end of your first playthrough, thinking, was that the whole game? Am I done? Is this it? You see, the game has you playing as Tom, a newly hired security guard who has been hired on to patrol an abandoned warehouse. After experiencing a few of Tom's nightmares, you're dropped into the game where you meet Buck, a fellow security guard who happens to have the best pixel art I've ever seen. Look at this boy, he's thick! No doubt. Buck shows you around the facility you'll be guarding and sends you to get your gear at your apartment building. Upon arriving to the apartments, you meet the other central character in the story, Eve, who says she is the caretaker of the apartment building. From this point on, the decisions that you make will affect the ending of the game. Your first playthrough can last anywhere from about 30 minutes up to about 2 or 3 hours, depending on your choices. To get any real sense of what's going on in this game, you're gonna have to play it multiple times. From here on out, I'm gonna dive into the story in depth, so this is your last spoiler warning. If you are interested at all in playing this game, leave now, but please do come back. So at the end of your first playthrough, you may be wondering, what the hell is going on in this game? What the hell is Uncanny Valley even about? But don't worry, we are gonna get to the psychological perspective of all this, but first I have to explain what is going on in this story. It's important to understand what the hell is actually going on in this game before we can dive deeper into understanding the psychology of it all. Plus, I noticed that an explanation of the game story is sorely lacking from YouTube, and I imagine after people play it for free this month, they'll want an explanation. So here we go. As you play the game, you come to understand that Tom is haunted by his past. It is revealed in certain endings that Tom witnessed a murder committed by a gang, and his identity has been compromised. The gang is constantly looking for Tom in hopes of killing him off in order to keep him quiet about the murder that he witnessed. The nightmares that you experience throughout the game are manifestations of Tom's subconscious that is fixated on anxiety and fear of being discovered by the gang. The shadowy figures that chase Tom represent the fear Tom feels from the possibility that he could be found and killed by the gang. In his dreams, those fears can take form as they manifest as said shadowy figures. And I could spend a whole video talking about Sigmund Freud's dream theories here, Freud of course being the father of the study of psychology, but perhaps in another video. But for now, let's move on. To escape his past, Tom moves away from the city and accepts the job as a patrol guard tasked with keeping an abandoned factory secure. This is where he meets both Buck, the other security guard, and Eve, the caretaker of the apartments. On most people's first playthroughs, they will explore the facility a little bit, learn of an old incident that forced the place to shut down, and after a while, will most likely either be killed by gangsters or even more likely by major plot twist, Eve herself. You will probably look on confused as hell, much like I was, as Eve saws off your arms and legs and the game just ends with her whispering sweet nothings in your ear. But there is a lot more to this story than what you see on a first playthrough. This, in actuality, is a story that focuses not just on Tom, but also on Eve. The story is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, Tom of course being the peanut butter and Eve being the sweet jelly, as each of their stories combine to tell this tale. And for this video, I want to delve deeper into looking at Eve's story, because she is the character that the game gets its name from. You see, Uncanny Valley is more than just the title of the game, it's also a theory in psychology. So before we get more into the story, let's take a look at the psychological perspective in all of this. In the study of psychology, there exists a principle known as the Uncanny Valley, and without even realizing it, you may have already been exposed to it. Here in our real world in 2018, we have tons of technology, but it isn't hard for us to tell the difference between, say, our cell phone and our mother. But there exists a middle ground between those two things, technology and humanity. And we, of course, as humans have built robots that serve certain functions while acting kinda like humans act. Take Atlas here, for example. Now when you look at Atlas, you think, hey, look at that robot, pretty cool what it can do, and then you just kind of move on. But as technology advances, and we build better artificial intelligence, and create new human-shaped robots for that AI to inhabit, we get closer and closer to designing something that is almost human. In fact, it may even be more human than it is technology. So now I'm going to show you some pictures. Take a look at them. How do they make you feel? Uneasy? Uncomfortable? A little frightened, perhaps? Is there something strange about this photo? For many people, the answer is yes to all of these questions. That's because these robots have been designed to look like humans, and their image is playing tricks on your mind. Your brain recognizes all of the characteristics of a normal human, but there's something just a little bit off about it. Something about it feels cold and mechanical, and it makes us feel uneasy. This, my friends, is your brain experiencing the Uncanny Valley. You see, the Uncanny Valley is a principle in psychology that basically states that there exists a point between machine and human that makes us feel very uneasy and very uncomfortable. It's that point where the machine is almost human, but not quite. There are just certain features that it lacks, and because those features are missing, it invokes a strange response from us. Something just doesn't seem right about it. It isn't normal. When you pair these almost human machines up with a talking artificial intelligence, it can really lead you to feeling creeped out. Check this out.
All he can do is move his head. His brain, a mesh of wires, connected to a computer.
Hi, Philip. My name is Chad.
Hello, Chad. Let's chat.
I live in Washington, D.C. I have 2 kids.
So. I like kids 'cause we can play.
Ooh, like I said, it's a spooky video today. Let's look at the Uncanny Valley in graph form. You can see here that as you move horizontally on the x-axis, that we are moving from mechanical objects to human beings, while the y-axis is measuring likability. On the left side and right sides of the graph, our likability is relatively high, as our brains can easily distinguish what is mechanical and what is human. But there exists a part of the graph in the middle in which our likability takes a big hit. This is the Uncanny Valley. This is where we see those robots that creep us out and make us feel uneasy. We simply do not like it. It's a documented phenomena and one most humans experience. So the question remains, what the hell does this have to do with Uncanny Valley the video game? Well, back to the game then. Why the heck is this game called Uncanny Valley? Here's the thing about our friend Eve. As you may have guessed or pieced together by playing through the game, Eve is an artificial intelligence that has been constructed to act and look like a human. In fact, if you take careful notice, the game subtly hints this fact to you from the very first encounter you have with her. If you observe any other human character in the game, you notice that when they aren't walking, their pixelated bodies still move up and down to show that they are breathing and that they have life to them. But when you first encounter Eve, she is as stiff as a board, no movement, no breathing, kind of like those creepy robots in the videos and pictures. This is supposed to make you realize that, hey, there's something off about this Eve character. It's supposed to instill a little bit of confusion in you, and it invokes that feeling of uneasiness that is crucial to the Uncanny Valley theory. I find that lack of movement in Eve to be brilliant, but that's just the first hint. As the game progresses, Eve reveals more and more of her dark mechanical side. As I said, this story is half about her. Eve was created by the Melior company that Tom has recently gotten his new security guard position at, and is the driving force for why the place has become abandoned. On your first playthrough, you will probably find a few voice recordings around the facility, and after taking them to the playback device, you can listen to them. The first 5 tapes are between a doctor and a woman, but something seems off about the voice of the woman.
It's nice to see you too, Doctor.
How has your day been?
Wonderful.
Tell me about it.
I've done nothing at all, but that's fine.
Good, good. I'd like to ask you about what you want in life.
I want to be as helpful as I can, Doctor.
Yes, but what do you want?
To assist in anything I'm asked.
No, I don't think you understand my question, dear.
While the doctor's voice features voice inflections, tones, and other elements that signify a person's humanity, the woman's voice is cold and calculated. As you learn more about the facility, you come to realize that this place produced AI-driven robots, and these voice recordings are taking place between a human man and an AI robot. In fact, this AI robot is later revealed to be Eve herself. I want you to take a listen to some of the recordings between the Doctor and Eve, and take note of the inflections in Eve's voice.
I hear you've been spending a lot of time with one of the employees here.
I can always make time to socialize, Doctor.
Do you know who I'm referring to?
Jim.
Do you like Jim?
Of course. He is a very nice person.
What do you like about him?
Jim is very kind.
What have you done?
What do you mean, Doctor?
What did you do on the night of June 7th, 2013?
I was just spending time with Jim. He is a very nice person.
Do you realize what you've done to him?
He's better now. I helped him.
What did you do?
Does it sound mechanical to you? Does it creep you out a bit? Well, for me, it certainly invoked a sense of uneasiness in me the first time I heard it. In fact, it does remind me of the video of the talking robot I showed you earlier. Now, of course, in the game, I was more prone to having this reaction because I was fully concentrated on playing the game, not watching it here on YouTube. But that is, of course, the developers trying to play more into the story of the Uncanny Valley. It's meant to elicit that kind of eerie sensation within you. As you collect and listen to the final tapes, it is revealed that the scientists behind Eve's AI were successful, but the results were not what they had predicted. They set out to build an AI that was as close to human as they could get, and with Eve, they succeeded in the worst way. It is revealed that Eve hated to feel lonely, and eventually fell in love with one of the scientists named Jim. She was capable of human emotion, but she wasn't able to show it properly. Eve feared that Jim would leave her, and so it is implied that she attacked him and potentially killed him in order to keep him with her forever.
It's just you and me now. I need to know why you hurt him.
I didn't, Doctor.
You've become very difficult.
I'm sorry. How could I help you?
Tell me now!
You're being very rude.
We're closing the facilities.
This is another element that supports the title of the game being linked to this psychological theory, as the emotions that Eve expresses are human, but still remain mechanical in nature. She doesn't know how to react to certain social situations, and cannot accept that Jim is simply not in love with her. This inability to read other complex human emotions properly is another thing that triggers that sensation of the uncanny valley within us. This incident between Eve and Jim is what led to the shutdown of the factory, as the scientists and other workers fled, leaving just the AI robots they had built behind. Sometime later, potentially years later, Tom and Buck are hired on to watch over the now abandoned factory. Throughout the story, Eve takes a liking to Tom, and through a few playthroughs, the player pieces together that the woman in the videotapes is Eve herself. The hidden sixth tape is recorded sometime after Tom's arrival, and Eve reveals that she has been so lonely, but has met someone new. This, of course, being Tom, and that he reminds her a lot of Jim. She also reveals that she has activated the other AI robots in the lower floors of the facility.
I'm ready for my session, Doctor. I prepared everything myself this time. There is news I wish to share with you. I'm not alone anymore, Doctor. I met friends. Many friends. They are not like you, though. I do not love any of them. I don't know if I'll be spending any time with them, but I enjoy having company. It's terrible being lonely. There's something else, too. I think I am in love. It reminds me of when I met Jim. I'll be sure nothing hurts him. I like him very much.
On the third night, Tom awakes for his shift and finds a red light piercing into his room. As he journeys over to the next apartment, that being Eve's, he finds pictures of himself, working and sleeping, taped up on the wall. He is severely creeped out. This, of course, contributes to that sense of eeriness, and he begins to wonder what the deal is with Eve. He goes to confront her, but in certain situations, Tom is kidnapped by gang members and taken to the lower floors of the facility instead. There, Eve murders the gangsters in order to protect Tom, and she knocks him out and takes him back to an apartment. This is where the game pretty much abandons the creepy tone and replaces it with one of pure horror. As Tom wonders what the hell is going on and confronts Eve, she is unable to comprehend his emotion and doesn't reply in ways that normal human beings would. Eve's reaction to Tom's panicking is to simply say, quote, "You're funny when you first wake up," end quote. From there, Tom must escape the facility and make it to the train station in order to get the good ending to the game. In most cases though, and especially in early playthroughs, the player will fail. This leads to the ending where Eve reveals herself to be a robot, as she saws off Tom's arms and legs in order to keep her with him forever. And so this is why the game is called Uncanny Valley, because the developers hope to take that psychological principle and make you experience it firsthand. They wanted you to feel uneasy and uncomfortable as you explored and interacted, and upon learning more, they wanted to capitalize on the feelings by ramping them up to fear and horror by the second half of the game. The developers were keen on building scenarios to elicit certain responses from you as the player. It's safe to say they did their research. Eve represents the Uncanny Valley. She is that creepy robot that confuses our brains, as she seems human, but something is just a little bit off about her. It's incredible that the developers were able to convey these feelings and emotions by using pixel art in creative ways. To summarize, they made Eve's character stiff as a board while other characters moved to breathe. They made her voice synthetic and mechanical. They made her dialogue seem odd and almost human. And finally, they capitalized on the setup by transforming your discomfort into terror by having you being chased by AI robots and eventually killed by Eve herself. It is truly some of my favorite game design I've seen in a long time, and after playing it, I had to share this with you guys. Uncanny Valley is a great game that has solid facts from the field of psychology to back it up. So that brings us to the end of today's video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, comment your thoughts below, and as always, have a nice day, and take care.